different. They're getting into the first game on Solaris. In the top right for Team Liquid, he is Clem.
In the bottom left, the newest addition to Team Liquid, of course, he is Cure.
You think they did a little rock, paper, scissors to choose the Team Liquid color?
I don't think the admins would let that happen. The admins are very defined on who is what color, Jazz.
That is actually a very good point. But yeah, we can't really go over too much more than the desk did, but if you missed it, basically you have a potential clash of styles, you have a potential moving forward from the Cyclone meta, and you have a potential countering. This is freaking me out, actually. Okay, anyway, a potential counter of the Cyclones that we know that Clem really, really loves. The thing is that we're really emphatic that Clem loves the Cyclones because it just seems to fit him so much. But while Cure might not be a guy who seems to fit that hyperactive, action-packed micro drop everywhere, he actually is the one that really was pushing the Cyclones. He's the one that kind of forced Maru to be like, oh, that's what we're doing? And then Maru tried doing it back to him. And then that was what they did in their best of 5 as well, Cure versus Maru. Most recently, it was a lot of Cyclones. So it is kind of funny because we don't know what the most recent online tournaments, again, like literally a couple of days ago, had in store for the games. But I'd be really shocked if it was Cure still going with Cyclones and winning. I think if it is Cyclones, I absolutely give it to Clem, but I might just be wrong.
Yeah, Clem's Cyclone play has been absolutely, through the roof amazing. Like, he did things with these new Cyclones that I was like, no, surely you can't do that with the new Cyclone, right? But he's been so good with them. It will be very interesting to see if you can make those work out for him in the series. We already see a bit of a greedy opening from Cure, just going to go straight into that reactor. Would put him in a little bit of danger if there was a proxy or so initially. But that has not happened at all. So Cure's going to get away with that earlier reactor. Now he's going to be able to be up a Reaper very soon, and that's going to give him a big little advantage early game, and that's just going to make it a little bit tougher for Clem, as Cure will have a few more units to kick off with in the first few fights.
Yeah, so the Reaper Hellion battle used to be obviously big explosive, very entertaining, and the micro can still absolutely be there, but when you do set the expectation of Cyclone, this is almost like something we pass by at this point. Clem started to really show his prowess in TVT online by actually just killing people with this Reaper Hellion opener, and then good old Patch gave him another early game unit to do the same thing. So he was like, oh, thank you very much. But we haven't really seen it do devastating damage, and one of those reasons could be that Cyclone comes out so much faster. It's so much cheaper, it doesn't need a tech lab anymore, so getting that snowball doesn't happen to the same degree. Clem is the first one to go for a Cyclone, but Cure is still building Reapers and Hellions.
There is a point where there's enough Reapers to out-damage a Cyclone. Yeah. It seems kind of crazy, but the Cyclone can die. And that is a factor. You see the factory to the reactor now here from Cure, so likely to follow this up with Cyclones of his own. Clem getting that medevac, though, will help a little bit micro-wise. We'll see how well Clem defends this first onslaught, which is coming across the map from Cure right now. He's up a Hellion, he's up 2 Reapers. It's that Cyclone that really has to play a big role here for Clem defensively.
Yeah, and he knows that as well, so he's going to be paying attention to the forward line. In case an attack like this has happened, there you go. Pretty much the immediate retreat is really the important thing here. High ground for the Cyclone too, but it is not a lot of supporting units, and it isn't a full wall either, but Cure is not going to go for the chase. Going to find what he can get here, which is actually only 1 SCV thanks to the medevac popping at a very opportune time.
Pretty good from Clem, all said and done, right? Because the Cyclone was kept very safe throughout. There was never a chance to get on top of the Cyclone. First he kept it on top of the ramp, then he pulled it past the depot, raised that depot. So Cure probably felt as though this was a good start, but he really ended up just losing a lot more units. And like you say, he only got 1 SCV, so Clem is going to get away with that slight advantage into Cyclones of his own now. Yeah. He already had a medevac, so he's a little bit faster to the Raven as well. And that medevac is going to start some harass 1 Cyclone versus the 2 Cyclones that will go across the map from Cure.
Yeah, exactly. In an ideal scenario, nothing really happens in the early game. You both mirror each other, whatever it is, and the extra units that Clem had do go in this medevac, and it creates a little bit more of a SCV killing force. But at the end of the day, both players are going into reactored Cyclones, so it's about finding the one angle and the 1 second of time in which the Cyclones are not properly positioned and getting lock-ons, and that's why this becomes such a big micro battle, one that Cure is totally eager to fight against Clem with.
Yeah, he did a great job of that. That 1 Reaper left over from before, so important because it drew the Cyclones away for a couple extra moments, meant he got a couple extra SCVs on the natural, and that's been the difference so far. As Cure does retake a worker lead in this game after Clem was a little faster to expand. There's the Interference Matrix upgrade coming up here, and Clem, I was going to say he didn't get it yet despite starting with Raven sooner. Of course, a lot of it nowadays is you want to kind of drop auto turrets down. As Clem is hunting this medevac, he knows roughly where it is, but Kira is playing some fun games to dive on out of there.
So the other TVTs that have been happening on other streams have gone more of a classic way. Maybe some Cyclones at the beginning, but they've actually, a lot of them ended up into Marine Tank. But I can tell you, having watched many games like this, basically what's going to happen is that one person's going to push, try and get better auto turrets to lock on, fake outs as well as actually do the damage. And then only if that doesn't straight up end the game, because it absolutely can, will the Interference Matrix be used later down the line. It is going to be Clem looking for that moment. Auto turrets do get thrown down first for him, and less so for Kier, as one of his Ravens got bopped immediately, but you can see the defense is good enough. Clem recognizing it as well, is trying to evacuate, but chased down by a very eager Kier, who's also microing to his heart's content here and is actually doing a wonderful job.
I mean, fantastic stuff, right? Micro on the Cyclones as well. We do lose the medevac now. Clem loses some more of his Cyclones too. He loses a bunch of units, and Kira is still pushing, so that means that Clem is really not going to have a lot here. Down 10 army supply. He's building more Cyclones, but boy, Kira just keeping so many of his alive. He might have been losing his Ravens, but he did so good elsewhere. There's one auto turret coming down to help Clem out, but he's in some trouble. Kira is on his front doorstep, and he has got the numbers to push on in.
It's, I mean, kind of like some of the other mirror matchups that we have, Muta versus Muta, Phoenix versus Phoenix. You basically don't really recover from this devastating of a loss. If it was one or two Cyclones countering, the game would have gone on. But you can see that Kier does receive that GG from Clem and wins the Cyclone battle. That might just be how the recent matches have gone, which is that Clem doesn't actually get to be the only hyperactive one on the field. He does have to deal with the other person's micro, and then might not be the best when it actually comes to those direct engagements. But to really say that, we have to take such a long, close look at that one, like, half-a-second moment with the auto turret Cyclone battle, which I imagine we'll see in a second here.
Yeah, this start really did feel like it was going to do so much for Kira, but Clem again was great defensively with his Cyclone. He got an edge off of this. This was the important fight, and
okay. The concave was better for Kira, right?
He just got more Cyclones fighting straight away, despite the auto turret damage.
Yeah, exactly. There was like literally half of Clem's Cyclones were caught behind his own Cyclone, so the auto turrets did take the lock on, and they did buy some time as well as do a minor amount of damage because the output's very strong, but then they'll live very long. But that's the calculations that you do, and then the game ends. And this is what we have been seeing from particularly these two Terrans. The other Terrans in IEM Katowice might be just very strongly against this, and so they don't really eagerly play to this point. But between these two, that's 100% expected. I just thought it would go the other way.
Yeah, I would agree. Clem's usually so good at picking those fights, and just think this is one of those cases where I don't even necessarily think he misjudged this. Just in that moment, you think, right, I've got this, but the pre-setup concave, and that just makes the difference, enough of a difference. And even then, maybe if Clem had just straight up ran home, he might not have lost as many Cyclones. You get home, you get a couple of repairs, and maybe you defend. He tried to do a little bit extra, right? He tried to micro back against the micro of Kira, and then he ended up losing a couple extra Cyclones. That's what really gave Kira the ability just to keep on going from that point on and just never stop. And that's how Kira picks up a pretty fast game number one in this opening best of three for these guys today. Obviously, some other matches in this group already began, but this one was held off, waiting for the rest of the games in Group A to finish up for today. So this Group B action could begin.
It's a very explosive way of playing. I mean, there's definitely something to the strategy there, and certainly one of the things that Clem could have been thinking, oh, I've caught him off guard. Because literally the auto turrets have to come down so quick that if you are later to them, they either don't come down because the physical space you're going to put them in is now taken over by your own Cyclone or their own Cyclones. It's a very short cast range spell, or the Raven dies because it is slightly forward and gets locked on first, and then it gets bopped immediately. So there's a lot of reasons as to why Clem would do what he did, but Kier basically negated that as much as possible by having the preset concave. That really did help him out. And then he also was able to kind of give as well as take as far as the micro, right? Like, it wasn't just watching Clem bop someone in the online cup as he can do. It was watching him go up against someone who's very equally capable of doing that. If you put them in a literally, like, arcade map that is literally that micro, Clem might win like an average point, superior in the micro. Okay, sure. But when it comes to big moments, big tournaments, Kira is just as capable.
Yeah, absolutely. Kira is Very, very capable. Again, I think that chance to kind of play a game as A as well, right? All the way through to that finals, really showcasing that he's got it. Like, he's done it all in Korea before. But to do it in, you know, big international event on the very biggest of stages, he really was. It was really cool to see him do that. And so, again, just give you confidence in the rest of these events. Similar for Clem, he got it done in Atlanta. Let's see if he can use some of that confidence in this next game. Game 2 coming up here as Clem takes on Cure in this best of 3 to open Group B. In the top right, the red Terran from France. This, trying to make a comeback, is Clem.
In the bottom left as the blue Terran, we do have Team Liquid's Cure. Oh, it's funny as Cure sends out an SCV, but I'm looking at the two maps, and they're both maps without a natural ramp, which can be a more natural deterrent to some of these Cyclone shenanigans. But both players are probably pretty confident in doing the Cyclone shenanigans.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'll beat the guy. No, I'll beat the guy. No, I'll beat the guy.
Yeah, no need to kind of pick one of those rampy maps. As you'll see, as you mentioned, one SCV out on the maps. The second barracks of Cure is going to be proxied. This is a cool build, right, where it's like you can put on a bit of extra pressure, but you're not super committed to the Reapers. Just a bit of a different way to open your upper game, keeps you in a good spot. Clem actually likes doing this a lot as well. When he gets into like a game lead, he's like, you know what, I'm going to set this up, then you can't proxy Rex me and succeed straight off the bat as well. So just gives you a good way to apply pressure early, and we'll see if Clem can deal with that in these next few moments.
Yeah, and he should be able to. There's really a very low chance of this ending the game, or really even doing, I think, significant enough damage to call it there as well. But it can. I mean, sometimes the shock and awe factor, like first game is, even though it's kind of more common now, it's still oddly short for a TVT. It just happens. It's just done.
It can happen with Cyclones, right?
Yeah, and then you wallow up with an immediate aggression. Like, that is a good momentum game plan right there. I know Clem has certainly improved his mental aspect, and it doesn't usually get tripped up like this. I mean, it could have happened. Or alternatively, Clem could have actually tried to 1x expand and been a little more vulnerable, but that's a little less likely. He doesn't do it too often.
That's going to be a factory obviously on the way up from Clem, and that's obviously good news. Second gas factory all before expanding gives you the best possible chance of dealing with any sort of early Reaper pressure. So that gives him the right direction to deal with this. And factory done soon. Problem is for Clem, he said his Reaper across the map, so it's not going to be here defensively to help out. Now the two Reapers show up here from Cure, and Clem's going to be like, okay, well that's not great for me, because again, his first Reaper's so out of position. He starts up a Cyclone immediately, but it's going to take a little while to get here. And this is Clem going to start taking some damage. New Reaper pops out, but he's already 2 SCVs down. Command Center being delayed, and he's got work to do to work his way through this one.
He's gonna try and micro other side as well. Does capture one of the Reapers with his SCVs. Now, this is a lot of lost mining time, but if Clem can do both sides of the multitasking, he might be able to get revenge, and so far, so good. As far as the literal SCV kills, as far as the denied mining, it still favors Cure a little bit more, but Clem's right back in here with another Reaper. Gonna find another SCV, certainly a fourth. I mean, he could definitely target fire a fourth. Actually kind of missed target fires there a couple of times, so I was wrong about that, but it could have been 4, I swear.
Not bad though, right? I mean, 3 SCVs, you got more workers than he lost.
Yeah.
So he comes out a couple workers ahead, and don't forget that Q obviously is a little bit of a step behind on tech. He's got a barracks out in the middle of the map still. He put a lot of gas into those Reapers, so Clem does very well here. He defends aptly, and now he's going to have a couple Cyclones out as that starport kicks in, the medevac comes online, and we start to get back to where we were at in that previous game, where that medevac harass can begin. We'll see what Clem can do from there. And of course, he's got that command center, which is already halfway done on the natural. Cure has no expansion in sight. Yeah,
he actually didn't bother expanding to do a full-on 1-1-1. Like any matchup amongst the professionals, not really popular anymore. So we're gonna really do a one-base.
Sending it, yeah. Stop on the reactor, and we just build some.
Like a classic tank Viking push that you get bopped by ladder on, and you say, that's a stupid build, I hate it.
Yeah, and then you bring it out here. If I expected anyone to do this, I would have said like maybe Oliveira or someone, because he does this a lot in like TVP, for example. Maybe you extract out to TVT, but man, now you expand and you're just an expansion behind for what gain? Like, I feel like Q didn't even really know what he was trying to get done here.
Yeah, no, he literally had the starport on the reactor. I mean, that's kind of hard to misclick. I mean, it's not impossible to get your brain going the wrong direction.
Brain misclick.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you're right, the thing is not really an advantage of getting that much faster of a starport for either sides, honestly. just because the Cyclone is so powerful. That was pre and post patch, really. Like, obviously the start port gives you some more options, but I'm just saying, as far as timing goes, this isn't benefiting Cure, as you said. Clem's medevac is literally already here. So
yeah, I think Cure's quite lucky, actually, that Clem was being extremely cautious, because he left Cyclones at home, specifically worried for, I think, something coming. Now he's going to bring them across. As this medevac tries to leave, it is going to get out unseen, so that's an opportunity for Cure down the line, but he does still have to deal with these Cyclones at the front right now. 4 Cyclones and 2 Reapers to help lead the charge in, so a couple of initial hits maybe, and there's only 2 Cyclones here for a couple moments. There's the 2 extra. Now it comes down to Micro. Clem still has that medevac to Micro with, remember, so that will help him. But generally, Cure is going to be able to push this back, and now we look to Cure's offense for the next moment or two.
Yeah, well, Cyclones are on the way for Clem. They're about to pop out, but how many SCVs can be killed before that happens? And does the medevac escape, which is obviously the really big thing here. If the lock-ons of Clem go on the medevac, both lock-ons, that is, it's usually dead instantly. Back on the aggression for Clem, I think he did realize that he had a moment there, right? Because he locked onto a Cyclone, where Cure locked onto a Reaper, is why I kind of got the benefit right there. Not quite strong enough that he felt comfortable really pushing it, but he has taken leads. He's taken the lead in the SCVs and the economy in general, but now he's also very much in control. This is exactly where I think he is going to shine when it comes to Cyclone Wars.
Yep, in control. He's got Viking coming to shoot down the medevac of his opponent. He finds a cancel on the third CC, but it's just now placed. Even just picking away in the corner, right? It works out over time. There's the boost away, and that is going to be those medevac Cyclone combos getting out from Cure. Clem backs away with his own, but has definitely established a lead. 6 workers up right now, up in army supply. Love where he's at in general, as these Ravens are going to add in some autoturns to help push this back. And now that medevac really will just have to boost away.
That's it for really the aggression from Cure. Which means that he's basically just going to be stuck behind. He doesn't have a third CC. He's not moving on as far as the technology goes. If he cannot win with this upcoming Cyclone push of his, then, well, he's not going to win at all. This does help, but now we also have something from the back here. Clem does find a Raven, so that's decent, because if he can escape anyway, he's going to lose another Cyclone, though, and 2, actually.
Turned around.
Yeah, okay, this is now looking a little bit better for Cure. His attack now has a lot of potential. Clem still has a little bit of that defender's advantage. Another Raven actually popped out. SCV pool would be very helpful if it was done immediately. Yeah, I think he's going to be all right.
I was going to say the Raven energy is one big thing for Clem too. Those autoturrets do make a big difference. Got to use it a little bit here, and now he's on the chase. This time he's actually pushing Cure back. May not get to push him back as far, but a good first step as that orbital command comes down to the low grad, and that will be Clem mining from his third base much sooner here with the worker lead still intact. And Cure's still trying to come in, still believing a little bit. Auto turret goes down from Clem, finally comes down from Cure a few moments later. Clem is born to lose a Raven. Numbers are very similar, and I think Clem does still have just the better position to be able to turn this around. Even the medevac falls. Well, we're going to keep on hoping we do find one more Cyclone.
I love that they're both still building Cyclones.
Yeah,
well, very
it's
much
an active game, right? I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. But it's very much, you know, they do want to move on, but you can't move on because it's so quick, it's so fast. Like literally in the fights, but also the production. You don't want to fall behind in the Cyclone War, and that is actually going to be it. Yeah. Thing is that Cure would not be able to defend his third, so there's really no hope in trying to make a comeback happen. So Clem, based off the Cyclone opener and the way the Micro went down, gets revenge.
It's funny how similar it is, because even at the end, it's like the reason Cure really has to leave the game is because Clem just keeps catching a couple extra Cyclones on the retreat, and if Cure could just get everything home, probably fine to go on. From behind, sure, but is able to kind of stay in it. But in this case, no, he just loses too much, and the third's in trouble. Clem's already got Stim on the way to combat shield. Cure's trailing, so yeah, that's going to be that, and Clem ties it up 1-1, so we are tied in this series. And we are ready to see who can take this down. Big opening match. These two both know there's a lot on the line. And of course, we've not really talked about it a lot yet, but the idea of getting first in one of these groups is so important because you get to skip that round of 12. And with the Group D in play, that's so tough. There's going to be some very difficult round of 12 opponents.
Yeah, that's definitely looking forward, but trying to think about their road to victory. Obviously, every player wants to be like, well, I want to defeat everyone and get 10-0, you know? But only one player could probably do that. You know, realistically, I think Cure is first because I'm such a big believer in his TVT and his solidness, and I'm also definitely on the hype train of, like, he deserves international win after all this time. But it does start, I think, more so for Clem here, right? If Cure loses his first best of 3, it's a bummer. Maybe doesn't get first, but I'm very confident he gets top 3.
Yeah.
For Clem, I really do think that even though he's improved his mentality, he has the proof that he can go to the international tournaments and win, it would still be momentum-based. So especially when the rest of your matchups are still mostly TVT, to get kind of bopped, like if this game went Cure's way, I think it would set him up very poorly.
No, I'm absolutely with you, right? If you can just kind of get that, and it felt like that was a little bit of what happened to Clem last year in Katowice, right? Because he did lose out to Ragnarok, he lost out to Oliveira in those groups, and it just felt like it was just a little bit tough for him to get back on track after those series. And yeah, he is such a momentum-based player. Like you said, I think much improved in that regard, but it's so easy. It's one of those things that's so fragile to kind of fall back into your old ways when it's like one of the bigger events of the year. And all the pressure is back on you. Game number 3, setting up right here between these two Team Liquid players. We are going to be starting off in the bottom right-hand corner with the red Terran. Bringing it back to a game 3, it is Clem.
In the top left, also for Team Liquid, he is the blue Terran, Cure.
Well, Golden Aura, you mentioned the lack of a ramp on a natural. This is going to be the same case once again. Bit of a, I mean, if we get there, very defendable map on 3-4 bases. But, well, we've really not really been able to even think about a third base too much, right, so far in this series, so let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, no, don't do that yet. This is really the group of discovery. Again, Group A with Spirit and Marine, they're able to display some more classic TVT, which is great, and you know, it was really fun, but this was the group that I looked at and I was like, I know Cure likes the Cyclone stuff, even the like egregious Cyclone stuff, you know? He also had that one build that he seemed attached to in Atlanta, but kind of stopped doing it, like the Hellion Banshee one. And then Clem loves Cyclones as well as far as the micro of the early game. And then as Oliveira goes, he also is a very action-packed, fast player, so is he favoring Cyclones? And the question marks are just everywhere, because if they had both come in here, or all 4 Terrans to come in here, and they didn't have any Cyclones, I'd be like, oh, okay, so someone figured out. Yeah. Someone figured out the Cyclones don't work. But there's clearly something there, and certainly one of the differences in the groups amongst the players is just, you know, how good they are with early game Cyclones. That can be different across all the Terrans we have.
So here's a question, to add another question mark. Is there any potential, map like Golden Aura, we maybe see some mech, like maybe some Hellion, some Banshees and those Hyperflight Rotors? Is that something you've seen Cure kind of cranking out here and there?
He never got a chance to in the best of 5 with Mara at the very least. I don't know, again, the most recent TVTs in the last week, but he did, like obviously in Atlanta I went that direction a couple of times, but then it also definitely felt like both, like at least the Korean players are very much experimenting with this thing that was like post-Medivac Cyclone, where the Europeans were like, oh, okay, you know, 2 Medivac, or 2 Cyclones Medivac, maybe up to 6 or 8, oh, okay. But yeah, it's something that is another question mark. If we could get there, it also means we could actually get like an actual macro game. But this is an extremely greedy build for this game, this series being so based on early aggression.
Yeah, this is almost like believing Clem's just not going to do what he's done in the previous games, right? Like, I genuinely believe he's going to mix it up as, ooh, we jump up, that's going to be a donated Reaper. The second Reaper actually stays close for a little bit, and barely gets away for the moment. Needs to not turn a corner right now until it regens a little bit. Still being hunted. The other Reaper splits off to try and go elsewhere. It's not going to work. Well, not too bad to just lose 1 Reaper. Maybe a little bit of cannon fodder later on. But, I mean, nice for Cure, who obviously is going very greedily here.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing, right? I'm not trying to overhype a single Reaper dying. But I am going to kind of hype up the fact that he gets away with this for just that much longer. It's still a secret. Clem does not know what his opponent is doing, particularly that supremely fast third CC. Now, Clem is going for the Medivac, as expected, so he has a second form of scouting that we'll eventually find out. But this basically can like set up his expectation from being a little harassment, the same thing that he's going to do to me. Instead of thinking that, he could have been like, oh, this guy's totally vulnerable, let me really push this issue. And now he's only going to find out, have to readjust, have to redigest the type of game that he's playing, and then according to Cure's plan, Clem's gonna have to play from behind because Cure will have an approximate, like, similar number of Cyclones and Ravens and Defender's advantage, and Clem will just not have a third CC.
It's gonna be very interesting because if Clem, doesn't get anything done, then that is most likely going to become a problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now, just Cyclones, the Ravens. He needs to kind of make something of a move. Q's going to come into Scout and see what's up himself. He's been blind up until now, apart from killing off a Reba. So, I'd say get some very standard info. And yeah, it's just going to be the speed of that third CC. Already a 4 SCV lead. And Clem is just so passive with the medevac, not taking it across the map. He's missing out on pretty much every opportunity he might have had to really get anything done very soon here. These numbers are just not going to favor Clem in any way.
Yeah, this is becoming a bigger ban issue. Now, there's still the one action-packed Cyclone Raven v Cyclone Raven moment. Oh, I actually love the supply depot from Kira. Kira's so cool. But there is that moment where it could go really poorly for Kira, and then he loses all of his advantage because he has to tap out of the game. That is still possible, but if that doesn't happen, if anything is less than that, then Clem is going to be playing a more natural TVT as they both move into Marine Tank from behind, which I really think Kira wouldn't let go. So that's kind of what we're waiting for, is the actual move out. And so far, Clem, you know, just going for a little harassment, still building up the Cyclone count, is also probably wondering if he's about to experience the same thing from his opponent, because he still doesn't know about that third CC.
Yeah, everything he's seen is just being like, oh yeah, you're doing the same as me. But he's not had any of the information. It's like, oh, you were a Cyclone down earlier. He missed those opportunities because he lost the Reaper so early. So that's kind of where Clem sits, as the Cyclones in the medevac are now beginning to get ready to make a move. A Reaper comes in here from Kira, is going to find at least one worker. And that's always nice. Going to bring a Cyclone back here as well for a moment. Now this Reaper does go down, but yeah, Clem, he needs to make something happen. He's down 12 workers at the moment. This is becoming a very serious issue. So drop into this main base. We'll start to get some SCVs. Let's see how much we can get done. Not too much because the Cyclones are quick to respond. I mean, it's a good step in the right direction, but it's not all the way yet.
No, and that wasn't really something that told him he's super far behind.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not strong enough scout timing. So he doesn't know that he's actually 9 workers behind right now. He's also going to be behind on the upgrades, and then basically nothing's really going Clem's way. Doesn't even have like faster stim or faster barracks. It's all Kira all the way. Now, I don't want to say that Clem can't bring back a good old-fashioned TVT. Anything can happen, I think, when Terrans get that third CC saturated. But again, I think it's just where Kira is old school strong. So here we go. Cyclone's finally moving out. I think this is the strongest chance for Clem to actually get the appropriate amount of damage to even up this game.
Yeah, no, I think this is a real opportunity here. Kira did finish stim, so he has quite a few stimmable Marines. They might just help even just buffer a few shots. There's 4 Ravens.
Wow.
So Clem has a lot of energy available. He sends 3 of those into the main base, as he is going to lose his medevac. He's going to try and take a fight. He'll knock down 1 Cyclone, make it 2. So he has some opportunity, but of course, the Cyclone is at least here stranded. He just wants to try and get some SCVs before he gets cleaned up. Stim is revealed. And these Ravens really need to make a getaway. He's busy on the other side. He's going to lose all of the Ravens, Clem. Well, he did get Matrixes over here, so he'll break through the siege tanks initially. This is an opportunity. He's going to start getting a lot of SCV CG, and this is what we've been looking for.
Yeah.
If he just hadn't lost all of his Ravens in the process. Going for the third as well. It's on fire, but not fun fire enough.
Oh, that would have been... Oh, that would have been so Cyclone. It would have gone down. It will not. Kira recognizing the danger, get the SCVs on it. Obviously, the rest of his army was coming forward. Clearly, that was a really good adaptation from Clem, but the fact that he lost all the Ravens in the main really ruined what could have been a real comeback moment. He is ahead by 10 workers, but he's still behind in many other regards, and now losing a lot of what still makes up his army as he tries to trickle in more reinforcements, gets his tank actually in position, which it will be, but now there's interference Matrix to worry about. He might be able to save it, but now it's big trouble with the anti-armor missile. SCVs are pulled, which means that Clem goes back down to the worker count, and it actually looks like even with the SCVs being pulled, he is nowhere close to having the army.
Yeah, GG's. Kira gets it done as Clem. He made one